All right, first time filming at night with this ring light, so please let me know how this looks. It'll take some time to get used to. But hello everyone, it's me, Yeonni. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I just finished my very last final of my first semester of my PhD program. So I feel like I can finally breathe a little bit, and the first thing I wanted to do was to film a video, because now I can. So I need to figure out the scheduling of the YouTube and the classes and all of that, but I'm back today to answer your questions for hashtag Ask Yeonni. I asked you all who follow me on Instagram. It's the same name at Psych Darling on Instagram. Follow me there for future Q&As. But yes, I have a few of your questions that you've asked me there. When I asked last week, I also did Ask Me Anything a few months ago that I never got around to. So I don't want you to feel like I ignored you that time around when I asked you. So I will also add those questions into this hashtag Ask Yeonni. So yes, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so let me pull up the questions that you've asked me. I'll start with the ones from last week. First question, what are you studying for? I'm assuming you mean like, what am I in school for again? And like I said, I'm a counseling psychology PhD student, so I'm working towards getting my doctorate in counseling psychology to become a psychologist. How did you write your college essays? Any tips, ideas, topics? So when you say college, I'm thinking like undergrad, right? So I was in undergrad from 2012 to 2016. Wow, that makes me feel really old. And then I was in my master's program from 2016 to 2018. And then now I'm in this program starting from 2022. So I'll kind of answer generally. I think when it comes to college essays, something that I really try to focus on and a lot of like good feedback I've gotten. Part one is really make sure to thoroughly answer whatever prompts that these colleges or institutions give to you. I think it's really important to follow the prompt and the questions because it's so competitive getting into the university and getting into these higher education systems. So don't give anyone a reason to rule you out before even giving you a chance, right? So grammar on your essays is so important. Formatting is so important. And also just like following directions. I think a lot of people don't think about that. And the second thing I would say that I feel like has been really beneficial for me in my like educational journey and career as well is make sure to bring yourself into the paper. I struggle with this because a lot of the imposter syndrome. It's hard to kind of write about yourself in such a nice way. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like I'm marketing myself, which it is what it is. You want them to accept you, so you have to make yourself sound as appealing as possible. Add like that extra spice of who you are as a person because everyone is going to be answering those prompts, right? Or they should be. If they haven't, they're probably not going to get their essays read. But like, what makes you different? What makes you special? What is your passion? What are your values? Why this school? Really think about what makes you unique and special because you are unique and special. Think about that and bring that element of yourself into your essays. I hope you find that helpful. What's the hardest thing about your PhD so far? I think the hardest part, this is fitting because I just finished my first semester today. It's still not hitting me, but being able to sit here and film this video is like kind of helping me process. I would say the hardest part of my PhD this first semester, was trying to not feel overwhelmed. I think that's what it was. Not only overwhelmed with like adjusting back to school, I think that I was able to handle pretty well. But just overwhelmed with like the program in general. So this semester, what I had on my docket to do as a doctoral student was I had classes. So I took 15 credits and then I had lab. So those two were my main things. However, classes, although it took me some time to get used to it, I love going to class. I enjoy going to classes. I enjoy doing assignments. You know, of course, there's like those moments of like panic or like stress or wanting to procrastinate, which is normal. I signed up for that. And then with lab, the professor that I'm in the lab for, so my mentor, he was on sabbatical this semester. So we only met every other week, which wasn't too terrible. So I felt like I had a good grasp on like, oh, I can do this PhD thing. However, I really couldn't stay on that path of positive thinking for a while because I just know that there's a lot coming over the horizon. For example, next semester, I'm doing the full 15 credits again, but my professor is back from sabbatical, which means our lab meetings are going to be every week. There's going to be more demand, more time that needs to be allocated to research. And then also I will be TAing or CAing, which is being a teaching assistant or a course assistant for some of the courses. So that's another big thing that I'm going to have to balance my time with. So I feel overwhelmed about that. And then, like the year after, I start seeing clients at the clinic. So add that on top of all the things I have to do. And then the year after, I have to start preparing my dissertation. So you see what I mean? Where like I felt really good and I did the best I could this semester and I'm proud of myself. But it was hard to not get caught up in like, oh my God, like this was a lot and there's going to be so much more. How am I going to handle all of this? That was hard and I'm still going through it, but you just gotta focus on the day-to-day. I completed this semester successfully. I think I did well and that's the best we can do, right? And next semester, I'm sure I'll be overwhelmed again, but I'll do the best I can and I'm sure I'll be fine. So that's been hard, trying to not like get too ahead of myself with the overwhelm of what is expected from me as a doctoral student. Next question. Oh, this one's interesting. Seattle versus New York City. Even before I finished reading the question, I had my answer. I love New York City. I just love the energy of the city. And I love gimmicky, touristy things. And New York is so fun. All of like the events that are around the city, all of the restaurants. And anytime there's like a tour or like a big thing happening, that New York City is always a stop. Not saying Seattle isn't, but I know it's cliche, but I really do love the energy here. And the subway systems aren't like perfect. They're pretty gross and disgusting and they run late, they get delayed, but it exists. The transit system and the mobility and freedom that this city makes me feel, it's just kind of amazing. And also it's just beautiful. Like New York City is so beautiful, especially around the holidays. Oh my gosh, like Christmas in New York is just so, it just like fills my heart with like so much holiday joy. And I know it's cheesy, I know, but I love New York City. I want to live here forever. I really do, which is something I need to figure out, but I love this city and I'm so, so grateful to be here right now. Would you be open to mentoring an MSW student? I would totally be open. I just don't know to what capacity of mentoring you mean. Like a consulting type of a thing or like a supervision type of thing, where you're seeing clients and one-on-one. I could totally talk to you about my experiences. Like I feel a little shy when you say mentor because like who am I to mentor someone else? But I could grab coffee with people who are interested in getting an MSW. I wish there were more forums of like just where people can just ask me more questions like this with like, because many people have very similar questions. So I mean, hopefully these kinds of videos are helpful, but yeah, I'd be totally open to it. I just don't know how, through what outlets. How did you decide on your PhD program when comparing it to other schools? Thank you for your question. So the reason why I chose the program that I'm in now there's a lot of different reasons. Number one, research interest match was very important to me, and it's just also a very big part of like the PhD application process, because when you're applying to most master's degree programs, I say most because I don't know like the nitty-gritty of all master's degree programs, but from the ones that I know of, it's really just applying to the program itself. But when it comes to PhD programs, I've noticed that at least with psychology PhD programs, it is like a mentor to student matching kind of a system. So one professor chooses like one student like every year. That's why it's so competitive. So that really led me to narrowing down a lot of my programs where I wanted the program fit. Are they about social justice? Are they about promoting health equity and community mental health? Multicultural competence, all those important things. And is there a mentor in these institutions who is interested in similar research interests as I am? So school orientation fit and like research mentor fit, those were really, really important elements of finding a school. And thankfully, I love the city, like I said, and New York City is such a diverse city. All the institutions here really, really focus a lot on social justice, which is a huge part of my personal and professional values. So it worked out wonderfully that I was able to come back to New York to go to my dream school, to be in my dream program, to pursue my dream career. Life feels like a dream. No matter how exhausted I get and like stressed out I get about finals and like personal things going on in my life, life just feels like a blessing these days, for sure. Next question. How has it been transitioning from social work to psychology? That is a wonderful question. Thank you for that. Let's see. So it's only been a few months, right? And before this transition, I had a bit of a buffer of being a research coordinator. I have videos I made during that time as well. So if you're interested, watch those for some insight. But after I got my MSW, my Master's in Social Work from NYU in 2018, I worked from 2018, 2019, I guess from 2018, 2019, 2020 as a social worker. And then from 2020 to 2021 to 2022, I worked as a research coordinator. So I had that kind of buffer to transition more into like a psychology research role as opposed to a social worker. But I see a lot of overlap, but also I see a lot of differences, which I guess is it's a pretty obvious answer, but a lot of overlap where my master's in social work, I think there's a lot of overlap with a master's in mental health counseling when it comes to our functionality in the workplace. We're all going to become therapists, right? We're all there to help people with their mental health symptoms and help clients achieve whatever their goals are. That's the same whether you're a social worker or a mental health counselor. Mental health counselors are the ones that are in the psychology program. I think it's just the theoretical backgrounds that are a bit different. But I do see some areas where my social work training and background, I think at least makes my opinion and perspective kind of unique and new. So I mean, like an example of it is since I have a lot of experience in training, working with clients from a social work perspective, I just am very passionate and have a lot of knowledge on like topics like racism, diversity, oppression, prejudice, and the element of power that's at play in our society. And I'm able to bring those elements when it comes to like case conceptualizations of clients where we focus a lot on like mental health, diagnosis, symptomatology, but at the end of the day, like bring that kind of multicultural social justice element into it. That was a lot to just answer. Transition has not been easy, but very rewarding and very enlightening as well. Which I had hoped for, so I'm glad it is. How is the TA process at your school? Are you excited to teach a class? Yes, so at my program, doctoral students, we receive funding, which I will talk more about in a future video if you're interested. But as a part of being a fully funded doctoral student, we have obligations. And obligations are like, for example, to have a certain number of credits every semester to be full-time. That's an obligation. Another one is to make sure that we TA at least 2 out of the 3 semesters of the academic year. So 3 semesters, fall, spring, summer, right? So this semester I did not TA or CA because I felt like it's my very first semester. I kind of wanted to focus on classes and getting used to being a student again. I'm kind of really glad that I did do that. But next semester I will be TAing or CAing. I am very excited and nervous, but mostly excited to teach a class. I want to be a professor. Working in academia is a big part of my vision for myself through this degree because I think representation is so important, especially as an East Asian, Korean, American woman. I'm really passionate about like being there to represent and me being in these spaces, like creating spaces for other, East Asian women to be a part of the faculty. I think it's really important. So I'm very excited. I'm wondering what TAing will actually be like just because I've kind of dreamt about this for so long. Like it'd be so cool to TA a class. I'm a kind of a dork, so I'm excited for it though, very much. Any tips for current MSW students? Rekindle with your why. And what that means is, I think when you're in an MSW program, you're not only learning a topic, right? You're not learning like social work. What is it? How do you do it? You also learn a lot about yourself through the process and how humans work, like how people are, their values. Some lessons are incredibly powerful where you're like, wow, human resilience is amazing. And these professors and faculty are doing great things. But then some lessons are kind of heartbreaking where you're like, wow, there's a lot of exploitation that occur around vulnerable people. So it's easy to become disillusioned, I think, just because our world is not rainbows and unicorns. Like, I hope you know that. And like, I think you already know that if you're in an MSW program. Being someone's therapist or social worker, when you think of it in like a societal context, you kind of feel small at times, or that's how I felt, where I'm like, I'm just working with this handful of people when there's so many like systemic injustices happening. What can I do for this person when society treats them like nothing? You know, like what is 20 minutes of their week gonna do that's gonna actually help them get their welfare or their daughter back or deal with their substance addiction? But I learned that those 20 minutes of genuine kindness, empathy, compassion, respect for a fellow human being can do so much for these clients. And I found that powerful. I found it powerful that I could be these people's ally, someone in their life who genuinely is working to want the best for them. Like, our work is to genuinely care and put in our heart and effort and time for their well-being. And that was my why. Like, I wanted to be that ally to these clients that I had, and that kept me going. So all that to say, you know, take care of your mental health. That is so important, and always understand your why. And, you know, kind of come back to that. I think it's always good to remind ourselves of that, because we get lost in the despair and the overwhelm. It's always important to come back to our why. So best of luck with your program. So these are the questions that were asked a few months ago. So if you asked them, thank you. If you didn't, hopefully these are still helpful. What drives you when staying committed to long-term goals, i.e. PhD application? Oh, perfect. So my previous answer kind of already answers this one. What drives me are my clients that I've worked with. Honestly, working as a social worker and therapist changed my life. It's like, you know, people say ignorance is bliss, right? And maybe it could have been. Maybe if I went into a completely different field and had never worked with the clients that I did, I would have still been happy or whatever. But after hearing the stories and seeing the lives of my clients, it's impossible for me to not be passionate and not to keep going for the clients that I had and for the clients I will have in the future. My commitment to compassion, empathy, and just wanting welfare for other individuals in our society, I just need to get my hands involved. Like, I can't live life knowing all of this is happening and I don't do anything actively to try to support it, to try to give back to my community. So yeah, that's what drives me. And like, yeah, applications can be stressful and annoying, classes can be stressful, finals can be stressful. But like, it's like such a privilege that my stress and difficulty is doing applications, filling out forms in my warm home. I feel like I need to use my privilege to help those who have none. How to not sound generic when answering questions in grad school job interviews, especially in a field you don't have a ton of experience in. How to not sound generic in grad school job interviews. A way to not sound generic, I think there's twofold. One, you know, there's certain questions that they're always going to ask, like, what are your positive attributes? Or what can you do for the team? Like, you do a quick Google search on interview questions, all of these come up. I would say practice answering these questions with your own spin. Even if you're writing graduate school applications, I like kind of talk things through out loud. Yes, I talk to myself. But hearing it and saying it over and over makes something sound from being robotic to conversational in a way. It's also important to do your research. Don't pretend like you know something that you don't when it's a field that you don't have a ton of experience in. But something I always try to do when in those situations when I know I haven't done something, but I want to kind of turn it in a positive way, is I try to say, oh, I don't have experience in that, but I do have experience in X, Y, and Z, and I learned some like, you know, transferable skills from that, so I can also do this. So you can kind of highlight things that you've learned from a previous experience. And then it's always good to just show humility and be like, hey, I don't know this. And I'm not gonna BS it and say I do know it, because recruiters can tell. Let me tell you, I've done quite a few, hello YouTube, I've done quite I've done quite a few job interviews where I was the recruiter, or like I was in like the recruitment role, but people can tell when you're lying or you don't know what you're talking about. So, you know, just be honest. Like, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, or you know, I have this experience. Yuzu does this. He likes to climb on my arm. I also started my PhD in clinical psych. It's overwhelming and scary, but I want to take it day by day. Congratulations, that's so exciting. It is so overwhelming and scary. I feel you, but I think you're doing great. Yes, that's what I've been doing. That's how I've been able to succeed this semester, with my head intact and not spinning out of control like I felt like it was at certain points. That's all we can do, just with life. Take it day. Are you biting that? Stop it. Take it day by day, for sure. You're doing great. Congratulations. Hi, I was wondering how you ended up choosing your programs compared to others. I already answered this one, but yeah, it was a book about program fit and mentor research fit. That was really, really important. Good luck for your new life moves. How have you been? Oh, that's so sweet. I've been doing well. Thank you so much. Doing so much better now that I've settled into this new life. My apartment feels like my apartment. The cats are clearly very relaxed and happy, which makes me happy. Good boy, honey. Oh, he is purring. He is purring. And let's see, if you were unsure, I think this is the last one. If you are unsure about pursuing a master's, LPC, or PhD in psych, how can you decide? Two things that come to mind first are finances, because most times master's degrees are not fully funded. So are you able to pay for your degree? Are you willing to take a loan out to pay for your degree? Second thing that comes to mind is the time commitment. PhD programs are generally 5 to 6 years long, sometimes longer. Are you able to commit to that time commitment? You know what I'm trying to say. And also, like, what do you see yourself doing? If you have like a vision of what you want to do with your master's degree or with your PhD, is a PhD really necessary? If you want to do just clinical work, you don't really need a PhD. However, if you want to do research and be a professor like myself, then having a PhD would be very, very helpful. And especially with research, it's necessary to do a lot of research in the academic setting. And yeah, to be a professor, you don't need a PhD to become a professor. I've learned that later on in life. And yes, let me double check. I believe that was the last of the questions. Yeah, thank you so much for submitting your questions to me for this year's hashtag Ask Yeonni. I'll try to do more of these. Yuzu is clearly having a great time sitting on my lap. I feel so blessed and grateful to be where I am right now, and like I'm just so motivated to continue working hard and doing the best I can, you know, because that's all we can do in life. And yeah, can you believe it's almost Christmas? Today is the 20th, so 5 more days. And then it's so close to the end of this year. Oh my gosh. Craziness. Time just flies. Time is just flying. But with that said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please make sure to give me a thumbs up. Please make sure to subscribe if you have not yet. I would love it if you could join my small corner of the internet. We have cats. Look at this face. Look at he won't look at it. Look at this face. Look at this face. How can you not subscribe? Anyway, I hope you all are taking care of yourselves emotionally, physically, mentally, in all of those really, really important ways. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the very next video. Bye!